Tuesday, August 1st. The Dome Foamers podcast is back. This is a trade deadline emergency episode. I'm your host, Christian Kruger, and currently right now with Neil Miefke, we're just lifelong Astros fans who love talking about the Astros. So, boys, let's go. He's back. Yes, JV is back. Before we dive into it, I do want to do a quick thank you to Two Gringos Chupacabra for being our title sponsor, and for Victoria Equipment Auction, who has an auction on August 12th. Please contact them. Great people at both. We want to say thank you to them. This is going to be a shorter episode that, I was driving home from our hometown, doing a little work there. Thank you to VISD. Neil's in the middle of football season, started up this week. Dorton is in the IT world, coding his world away, I'm sure. So that sounds fun. And here we are. I was driving and the news broke. And I'm going to go through my quick timeline real quick because I had a feeling Drew Gilbert was involved. I just had a hunch because of what they got back from the team up north for Scherzer. And I will say, I was like, dang, okay, that's the cost of doing business. Then there was rumors it was Joey Luperfido. I was like, dang, I like that guy, but cost of doing business. Well, it wasn't him. It was my favorite player in the Astros farm system and one of the youngest players in the Astros farm system, Ryan Clifford. So one thing, he's guaranteed to be a Hall of Famer now that he's been traded to the Mets. And he is my favorite prospect. However, I was mad. I think I shot off some text messages to Neil and Brian that this is not, what are we doing? And then all of a sudden we waited. And the Mets are giving the Astros $54 million to cover, I'm assuming, next year, maybe a little bit of this year. And then he has this weird option. If he throws 140 innings next year, he gets paid $35 million in 2025. That is essentially, Neil's the math major in this group right now, around $27 to $29 million that the Astros will hit their payroll for the luxury tax, for the CBT, all that jazz. And the Mets are paying around $54 million in change. Holy crap. It changes the complete dynamic of the trade for what we're getting for Justin Verlander, who has been on both World Series championship Astros teams. So, Neil, I laid that out real quick. I mean, where do we begin? Because we're recording this 8 minutes before the trade deadline, just so people have reference when this podcast comes out. So there's other stuff could happen. Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers just declined to trade to the Dodgers, which is awesome. Don't know all the logistics of that, but he invoked his no trade clause. So, Neil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm sitting in the middle of some coaches' meetings and trying to figure out how to score some points, and phones blowing up, and have a chance to take a look. So it's in the back of my mind. I try to stay focused on my job per se, and so we got finished. We wrapped up a good 10-hour day, and so now it's soaking this in, right? So I think last Sunday we talked about, we said regardless,
which was 2 days ago, by the way.
Yes, it feels like 2 weeks ago for me, but we said last Sunday, I posed the question to you guys, regardless of who it was, would you or would you not want him on the team? And we all said yes. And so obviously we're happy. Obviously he's going to be a guy that gives this crew a little burst of energy. And I think I made the comment to you about, this is the team that won the World Series. The only guy that was a true player that we lost was him from last year's World Series team. So we've got the, the gangs back together, and it was a price. It was definitely was a price that we will figure out soon enough, and figure out a plan to fill the void down in the lower levels. But you can't argue with the fact that this, without a trade like this, there was no chance for us. There was no chance.
Very, 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 very small chance if luck happened and we just got hot.
Yes.
You are correct, but there's always a chance that you got a chip in a chair, but minimal. We talked about that as I was driving back and saying, "Oh, we got to get a podcast out." Basically, no chance. I agree with that.
So the fact that he's with us gives us some life, gives us some motivation, changes a little bit of the. I'm not saying that we were down, but I'm just saying that this is something that if we plan on being a team to be reckoned with, I mean, it's a pretty big middle finger to everybody else out there. And I can't think of one team out there who's trying to beat us that said, good, I'm glad they got Justin Verlander.
Right.
So message sent to the rest of the league.
But it's what we do. Everyone sends messages, but we're the reigning champs. So, and we backed it up. And look, I just retweeted this out on our Twitter at the Dome Foamers podcast. I just saw this before we got on. Go look at the first interview of Alex Bregman and his reaction. That tells you in 45 seconds all you need to know about what the team feels about this deal. Like, he is fired up. And, you always are if you're a contender and you get an ace pitcher or an ace or a stud bat or a couple of ace relievers. But what needs to be talked about, and it will be, they know this guy. He was just there. They know the fit. He's played with all of these guys. He's won 2 championships with some of them. He's reigning World Series champ with most of them. So it's not like you're fitting a square peg in a round hole. You're bringing him back from last year. Oh, and you're getting $54 million to do so. Like, the money blows my mind. I haven't even soaked that in yet. Not only that, he's in control. We really have him for control for next year for sure, most likely 2 years. And right. Is he going to be 42 and 25? He is. But we ain't footing the whole bit. We ain't footing the majority of the bill. The Mets.
No, we're not. I mean, so it comes down to what we figured 27 to 29 million, somewhere in there, for this year, next year, and most likely the year after.
Which should be three October baseballs.
Right. It could very well be. And how many people, I mean, I know it boiled my blood seeing Nolan Ryan throw no hitters for the Texas Rangers, when we thought his time was past. So, I mean, there's plenty of people out there who have a good argument to say that this was not a good trade. I understand that aspect because, again, we gave up quite a bit to get quite a bit. And when the people who are out there saying this is not a good trade, that they're the long-term organizational,
Yeah, but Neil, who's the biggest Ryan Clifford fan that you know?
No, I'm with you. I know. And I know that I know that you debated, and we have this conversation often about how do you know it's a good trade? Because it just might not feel good. And then it might feel good, and then it might not feel good. So when you have the debate, like if you're sitting in New York right now, are you feeling good about this trade? They're probably not that excited, but they're probably fine with letting Justin Verlander go. So again, it's not like they're not over there in New York saying we robbed these guys. we're not over here saying, man, we robbed them because again, we let two of our top prospects go. Now, our top prospects, again, I'm not saying they're not great players, and I think you said Clifford is somebody's bound and determined to be a Hall of Famer, and they're going to laugh at us in 15 years. But I'm just getting to the point of saying, if both sides are happy, then it was a good trade. We will ultimately be happy if we win the title. If we don't win the title, we're going to be obviously furious, but more furious that we didn't win a title. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. But I'm just happy that Dana Brown pulled the trigger on something to give this team life. Because
I have
again,
a feeling it was a lot of Jim Crane.
Oh, I'm sure there was that in the background, but I'm going to give Dana Brown the credit for making this happen. I mean, sending the smoke screens of we're not interested in another starting pitcher. So I just think Astro fans are excited that we have help, because again, if we go into tomorrow with the same roster, we're going to see the same Astros. We're going to see the same up, down, and I just think Justin Verlander just gives this team energy, gives it some credibility, sends the message to the rest of the league. Yes, and it's going to come at a cost, and that cost may come in a couple of years, but I'd much rather look up and see back-to-back World Series championships and understand that 23 flag that's up there may have cost us a couple of seasons to where we have to figure some things out.
Well, I think what it does is it not only allows us this year, but I think it leaves our window open for two more chances.
Right.
I think there's 3 Octobers that we've got a legitimate chance. So, and this year's all that matters right now, right? Well, Gilbert will most likely be up before Clifford. Let's talk about them for a second, because those were our first 2 prospects that we documented when we started this podcast. Yep. It was Drew Gilbert, and then I personally went with Ryan Clifford second because I just thought his ceiling is that high and he's that talented. Gilbert's probably going to be up sometime next year, most likely, probably mid-year, maybe the end of the year. And I think he's going to be a good player. I do. How good? I don't know. But I think he's going to be a good player. Is he going to be Chas McCormick?
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that come out of this that no one's talking about yet is the Astros are in on Chas McCormick. So I guess Dusty listened to the podcast, told Dana to listen to the podcast, then told Jim Crane to. I don't know. But this at least tells me that Chas is going nowhere, and he's here for 3 more years. And he's our sent. What'd you say?
I said, Jordan isn't going anywhere.
No, but my point being is that's a message that I think is sent. I think Clifford has a higher ceiling than Gilbert because of his power, his size, and the fact that he's only just turned 20 years old. He could never show up. I mean, he honestly could. He could be Daz Cameron, who we sent to the Tigers the first time for Justin Verlander, or he could be the second coming of Ted Williams, who I probably think is going to show up just because we traded him. And I say that somewhat kidding, but I'm just prepared for him to be really, really good. He's 3 to 4. He's 3 years away.
Yeah.
2.5, 3 years. Man, what's the quote that you were going to reference that we referenced on the podcast on Sunday?
Parades or prospects are cool.
Parades are cooler. So it's a gamble, but the whole thing is Verlander comes with a Brinks truck of the New York Mets bank. Yeah. And that also allows us flexibility for next year and into 25 when it really going to get interesting. So,
so like somebody said something to the effect of like, well, why didn't we just re-sign Verlander and keep our prospects? Well, because it would have ended up costing somewhere around 90 something or over $90 million. Heck,
Well,
I guess
86 million guaranteed with another 35 vested.
35 optional, so over $100 million. That's why, you
Yeah.
know. And the timeline on this with contracts of Altuve, Bregman, and then eventually Tucker. I mean, that throws a wrinkle in there. And what I mean, again, so after next season, there's some things that have to be decided and discussed and figured out. But you obviously looking past this year, yeah. I mean, we're fine at the major league level. We are fine at the major league level. I mean, you look at our pitching staff and it's pretty salty, but I think we have time to make some trades to build up the lower levels. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm fine. I mean, I'm fired up.
Well, because of our text message before this podcast was ever created, I did not want Justin Verlander for 2 years and 80 million or whatever it was. I know the Mets eventually settled on 86 and then a player vested option, which I was like, what? I was not on board. You know that. You know that. I said it. No, don't do it. Don't do it. That handcuffs us. If you would have said 2 years and a third of a year for 29 million, I'd have said, where do I sign?
Right.
It's a total different. That's a total different ball game.
Right. Now, 29 million and your best two people. I mean, but again,
I'd still do it, and I still do it.
I agree. I mean, I think this is, again, I think it's a fair trade. Both teams are at risk. Obviously, giving two prospects up is probably a little bit more risky while the Mets are dumping. But again, when you've been an Astro fan, and this may be the most important thing, and this is probably something that can get us in trouble sometimes, but when you've been an Astro fan as long as a lot of us and our listeners have been, and we're going back to the 80s to where the term going to a World Series was not something that was used. So when you have the opportunity to get somebody to go to the World Series, you do it. And that's probably my feelings in a nutshell. It's just what I think. I just think that we're better off today than we were yesterday.
I think we've lengthened our window. And I also think that there's going to be some massive discussions coming after next year and the year after that. But that's 2 years away. I mean, we've lengthened the window.
Right.
Let's give a little shout out to Larry, the GM, as we were both on his Twitter space a little bit earlier before we recorded this podcast.
Love him.
Some great stuff. There's some great stuff. Larry does a great job. So we'll give him a shout out. That means he needs to give us a shout out on his, but I'll remind him. But someone said, and it wasn't Larry, it was someone on there. Well, you never know. We can trade pitching next year. No, thanks. I mean, let's just wait a second. Okay. There's never enough pitching. Okay.
Right.
And I'm not saying we're not going to do that, but you got Luis Garcia won't be back till probably mid-year at the earliest. You got Lance Mieski McCullers Jr. that who knows when he'll be back. So we don't. Yes, but let's tap the brakes here. Let's wait and see. Now you can put JV in the front of the rotation and let it all filter down. And I'm not saying we should be trading any pitching anytime soon, but something that I think is important also is while, I think the Mets just look at numbers and say, oh, those are their top two prospects. We want them, which is, it stings. But again, the $54 million makes me feel a whole lot better.
Yeah.
We get to keep Eric Getty. We get to keep Gordon. I just saw as I was getting on this podcast, the 17-year-old that they from Houston that they drafted in the 11th round and just hit his first home run today in the Florida Complex League. He's Nehemiah Ochoa, I believe. He's from Galena Park. So they got Luis Baez, who's 19, who's a double machine. So I mean, they have a surplus of outfielders, which everyone knows. We talk about. I'm surprised there wasn't an Aaron Getty or a Gordon going back.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're not, because we're going to need those guys hopefully to develop, and step in for roles in the next coming years as well. So,
Well,
I mean, the boost in the clubhouse, because this guy, he's been in the battles with you, is massive, massive.
I mean, again, these guys get on airplanes and go places with them and go to hotels and play games. I mean, they live their lives with each other.
One of the Astros reporters, I can't remember who, because the things are going real fast. Because Maldi is close to JV, so be ready for that.
Yeah.
But Maldi said he knew at 9:30 this morning he was coming. He said they've been texting the last couple of days, and Maldi told another player that 9:30 this morning. He said, it's gonna happen. He's coming.
My jerkwad brother sends me a text that said Maldi just signed an extension tied with JV.
You know what?
I
don't have a problem them re-signing him as long as he's JV's personal catcher, and let Diaz catch the rest. But that's a problem for next year.
Yeah.
I did see where it was Diaz catching DHing tonight. I think they're both in the lineup.
But, oh, you saw? I haven't even seen it. I've been so far off of anything until this evening or late this afternoon. I haven't even seen who's where, what's. I barely remember we're playing the Guardians.
Is there any other news happened as we were now 10 minutes past?
Everything I'm seeing is,
Well, there's some stuff that'll be faxed in or scanned in or however they do it these days that'll come out after the fact. But I was just curious, did the Orioles do anything?
I see nothing. I'm trying to scroll through this, and I mean, people are just talking about, the Mariners didn't trade so-and-so, the Pirates never made a trade, Dylan Cease staying. There's nothing I'm seeing out there reporting, well, this is what actually did happen. So I mean, Verlander, it sounds like, was the splash of the day. So I don't see anything.
Yeah, there will be some stuff that'll show up after the fact, but Oriole fans after last year and this year have to be on complete tilt.
I mean,
where did I was driving, right? Where did Lorenzen go?
I don't see him anywhere.
Is Jordan off today? Did they not put Jordan in the lineup?
Oh, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me right now.
I thought I saw him in the lineup earlier.
Okay, so the story here on Lorenzen is possibly traded to the Phillies.
Oh, I did see that. No, I think he did get traded
for some Hey-Yu Lee.
Yeah. I mean, so the Orioles didn't get, and we're talking about this because this is some of the teams the Astros face hopefully in the playoffs. So they didn't get any pitcher. They got nobody as of right now. The Rangers the team up north, obviously we talked about Sunday, got Scherzer and Montgomery and Stratton. So, they've upgraded.
So the trade that they made was, oh, wait, hang on. So Seattle Mariners traded with the Orioles for reliever Eduardo Bazardo.
So has Eduardo Rodriguez not gone anywhere either after he vetoed the Dodgers trade? That guy seemed like a perfect fit for the Orioles. Josh Bell from the Guardians goes to Miami. So I guess he won't be in the lineup tonight against us. Wow, there's some crazy stuff coming out.
Well, yeah, because I'm seeing some of this is just fake. I mean,
well, that is true, but this is from Jeff Passan. The Miami Marlins are acquiring first baseman Josh Bell from the Cleveland Indians / Guardians. Wow. Yes, I could have sworn I saw Jordan in the lineup, but I guess he's not. Oh well, I'm not going to let that ruin our trade deadline thing. I guess he needed a rest. He was fatigued after going yah last night.
Yeah, I don't.
Man, what a day! It seems like August 1st. The Astros. Every
You know,
time we get bummed, I sent a text out to you guys yesterday or this morning. This morning, I said clock's ticking.
yeah. Well, I sent y'all the text of happy anniversary. I mean,
Yes.
because today is. Oh, sorry. I'll finish this thought. So yeah, happy anniversary because today's the day we traded Josh Fields for some guy named Jordan Alvarez. So
So essentially, then give him the day off.
yeah, right. So here's I finally got to MLB's site. It says the O's are poised to acquire Flattery from the Cardinals. That's a source. So this,
Jack Flaherty.
yeah,
I mean, that's not really.
that was 6 minutes ago. So it says the Orioles were closing on big moves to bolster their rotation at the deadline. Neither club confirmed the trade. A couple prospects. That's about it. All they. So again, I'm not saying that's a lie. I'm just saying that hasn't officially hit the waiver wires or whatever you want to call it. Phillies, Lorenzen, the D-backs, they added Pham, apparently. Again, nothing official, but they got with the Mets and got Tommy Pham. So they're at least participating.
I mean, we've been in this for 25 minutes. We haven't even brought the fact that Kate Upton's back.
I heard about her. I think I remember. You know, she didn't throw her Dome Foamer logo jacket away.
Yeah, I'm gonna send her one. Dylan Cease remains with the White Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez remains with the Tigers. Wow.
The Padres added Hill and Chol Cole. When was this?
I don't know, but I would love to hear the backstory of Eduardo Rodriguez
Oh man,
invoking his no trade clause with the Dodgers, citing a desire to remain closer to family on the East Coast. I love it.
man, that's so unfortunate. Oh, Choi. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the Padres are the team that they should just be better. The Padres and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, they didn't, which we kind of thought probably that after they swept the team up north, they weren't going to sell, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy that, Padres fans.
Yeah. So
All right, let's get back to it real quick before we, because we want to make this
yeah,
somewhat
sure.
quick. I know this is hard. Put your orange-colored Astros glasses down. Who's the favorite in the American League now?
So we are sitting at a situation to where, I mean, if you think I'm going to say the Rangers, you've lost your freaking mind, of course. But you're sitting in a situation where Baltimore is 65-41, Tampa Bay is 65-44, right? We are sitting at 60-47 because you're in Texas at 60-46. So obviously we're the half game behind. I don't think Toronto, like I said, Toronto's should be better than they are. So I'll throw them in the mix. So you're in the race between Houston, Texas, nobody in the Central, Baltimore, Tampa, and Toronto. So we're one of 5 teams in the mix. The favorite going in because of experience has got to be us. I mean, nobody wants to play the Houston Astros in postseason baseball. If you lay those 5 teams that I just set out, Baltimore, Tampa, Toronto, Texas, and Houston, and you say, who do you want to least play? I mean, does somebody sign up to go up against Verlander, Fromber? Not a chance. Not a chance. So I'm biased, unbiased, don't care. That's what I honestly feel.
Well, I wanted to ask that question. I honestly, at this point, the record does matter just for a division and who gets wild card. I really don't care about the records other than they're obviously for tracking purposes. I'm talking about now new teams like the team up north. They did a good job. They got Scherzer. The Mets paid a bunch of that. So props to them. The Mets are absolutely idiots, but that's a story for another day. So they upgraded with Scherzer. Scherzer's not the same Scherzer. He hadn't been this year. But still, that's an upgrade. Jordan Montgomery's an innings eater. He's had some good games. He's also coming off a little bit of an injury, but that's an upgrade because I would have loved for the Astros to get Jordan Montgomery as well. I think Aroldis Chapman's a joke. We've already lit him up for a 3-run homer. Yes, he's pitching good. He's pitched good for 10 years. He gets in the postseason against his dad's, the Astros. It's over. So I don't even care about that pickup at all. There's history there that he's not going to like. But they've upgraded. The Orioles, I guess, have done nothing based on right now, which blows my mind. I would revolt if I was one of their fans. I think they're the up and coming next Astros because of their farm and how good some of those players are, and they just have done nothing on the pitching side.
Flattery might be the only one, and again, is Flattery the difference maker?
No.
Flaherty, sorry.
Yeah, no, he's struggled this year. He's got a great arm, but no, he's not. Yeah, so it's the Stros. We're the champs, and we've got JV back, who was on both World Series teams that we stated earlier. No, you said it. No one wants to play us. Nobody. So now it's a matter of win the division, get the 2 seed, because I think that's probably the best chance. Have the first round off, let everyone else beat up on each other, then play the winner, possibly whoever comes out. I would love to play the Rangers in a 7-game series because, by the way, we are 6-4 against them with one more series left. They have Evaldi on the IL. They have Jonah Heim is in some serious injury issues that could be possibly either not healthy for the rest of the year or done for the year. So I'm gonna have to walk around here for a second, but yeah, we have to be. We have to be. So what a day! What August 1st! What a trade deadline! I'll give kudos to Dana Brown and Jim Crane for getting the deal done. And again, if appreciate you guys liking, sharing, rate, review the podcast. Those that reached out to Neil and on our Dome Foamers page on Facebook asking if we were going to do a podcast. Well, here we are. I had messages on Facebook. On Twitter. That's cool. People are like, hey, you said you're going to do one. Y'all going to do one? Like, we're recording in an hour. And then someone else hit us up. We're recording in 20 minutes. So here we are. We're recorded. Is there anything you want to touch on before we sign off and try to play catch up and get ready for the game tonight?
Nope. I think we're I'm interested to see Minute Maid Park tonight. Feel the electricity.
It's going to be electric.
Yeah. And Cleveland shipping off guys and basically waving the white flag. So we need to, pound them, and then JV gets to fly into town and then turn around and fly back to New York.
I don't think he'll come.
You think he'll stay?
Yeah, because he wouldn't be here till tomorrow probably anyway. And then we go right back there. He's just going to stay in New York and pitch against the Yankees.
Where do I sign?
I know. He'll stay there, which we don't. We haven't announced who's pitching tomorrow. JV pitched Sunday, right?
Yes, he pitched.
So he'll probably pitch Saturday. Give him a day. It depends on what we look like. I don't know. I guess Blanco or Dubin are going to pitch tomorrow.
Yeah,
so another move's coming. because they
But
did say Javier's pitching Thursday.
Is Blanco even on?
No, but they
making
can. Neither of them are, but they can move one of those guys up.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like, and this was back, I think, I can't remember if I talked about or saw this in Larry the GM's Twitter thing, X thing, whatever it's called now. But long reliever, the pitching staff on that side of things, we've got some shuffling to do pitching wise, I guess is my point on all that.
It'll get shuffled.
Yeah.
It'll get shuffled. No doubt.
But no, fired up about it.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Go Stros. The trade, he's back. I've got my 3-year-old yelling in the background because I got home just a while ago and got on a podcast. So I'm going to spend some time with her. Thank you for everyone that reached out to us and look, this is reaction time. It's a good day. August 1st is always a good day to be an Astros fan. Message is sent. Let's go. Bring it on. His first start will be in Yankee Stadium against the Yankees. I love it.
Absolutely. We're our second home, our vacation home.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually not. It's actually owned by the Astros. It's owned by one Jose Altuve. He basically owns that stadium. So he just lets all his friends and teammates come over.
Nice.
So with that said, thanks again for those. We'll get this out as soon as possible. Happy trade day. Let's go Stros. Thanks for joining. Go Stros.
Go Stros.